How do I do it all? The Brezza gives me the power.
Well, Pathirana is nailing his Yorkers, and it looks like CSK have pulled this innings back. To Nitish Rana single-handedly stole the show in Guwahati. We look back at that first innings by the Royals after they were put in, and they finished at 182 for 9. This is Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket for Timeout. Matt Roller, T20 analyst, is here. The great Ian Bishop is here. The great forecaster, Cheteshwar Pujara, just missed by 2. Otherwise, that 180 was as accurate as Pathirana's Yorkers towards the end, right? Who holds the advantage, gents, at halftime with that innings? Puji?
I think CSK, because it looked like a good pitch. There's a little bit of dew there. The ball is skidding on nicely. I think if they bat well, if they start well in the power play, they have a very good chance of winning this game.
Yeah, strange innings, Bish. One guy gets 81 of 36. Everybody else seems to be getting it roundabout run a ball or so, and they've ended with 182, and maybe they were aiming for more at one stage. 120 at the end of the 11th over.
99 at the end of 10. So that says it's a good comeback, a really good comeback by CSK through Noor Ahmed, first of all,
yes.
and then Pathirana a little bit later, a little bit of Jadeja as well. And it speaks to a little bit of a theme. I think we talked about it earlier in the day in this tournament so far in its early days, where teams can start off well and then bowlers strike back in the second half of the contest. So I'd say CSK would be the happier of the two teams right now.
Yeah, story is Noor Ahmed 2 for 28, Pathirana 2 for 28 of their 4 overs respectively. Khalil with a couple as well. Ravindra Jadeja only 2 overs, 1 for 10. Right, Matt Roller, what have you got on your notes?
Yeah, I've got exactly that. I thought it was curious that Jadeja only bowled those 2, given his success. And I think particularly given the history of Nitish Rana against R. Ashwin, which is a matchup that it has actually been very one-sided in Nitish's favour in IPL. Before tonight, 108 off 58 when they've come up against each other, never been dismissed by him. Tonight, 33 off 13. Obviously, he did get the wicket in the end, going wide and getting stumped, but it was one that very much has gone in Nitish's favour in the past, and we saw that again. I thought he was exceptional with his sweeps and slog sweeps, and if you think of that Rajasthan batting lineup, he's the one batter really of the core batters who wasn't retained and is there for a much lower price than the rest, but he really stood up and showed why he has been a quality performer in IPL before tonight. Interesting,
because CSK, we know about their reluctance to be very reliant, overly reliant on data and matchups. So this one screams off it. And of all the spinners to bowl their 4, I mean, Ashwin was taken down. It was Jadeja perhaps who ended up paying the price of not bowling his 4, Puji.
I don't think Jadeja can bowl against Nitish, because I've seen him. I know his record is good against left-handers, it's not bad, but I still feel in that situation where Nitish was batting so well, you can't go to Ravindra Jadeja and ask him to bowl well against lefties, because he could have been expensive as well. The thought process was to pick up a wicket. Ashwin was expensive, but in the end he got the wicket of Nitish, and which was the plan at that stage.
I mean, Jamie Overton's had a tough start as well, as we just break it up. What's the surface like? Does it look like because we're seeing Nitish Rana bat and you think there are lots of runs, everyone else seems to have struggled. So what kind of surface is this, at least from what you've seen from pictures of how it played against pace, spin, how the batters went about their innings?
Well, there's a little bit of bounce and carry there. One of the things that has impressed me about Nitish Rana in recent years is like he was a walking target for the short ball for so many years. And in the last, I don't know if it's 2-3 seasons, but he plays the short ball better.
You're right.
He's not invincible against it. And he took on a couple of them tonight, uppercut one that could have gone anywhere. So I want to compliment him for that. But I think if a little bit of dew sets in, it should slide on even better. I don't think it's a terrible pitch by any stretch.
I think there might be a clue in terms of Rajasthan bringing in Kartikeya as their impact sub as well, that maybe they're expecting it to turn. They had an option in, I think, Yudhvir Singh to go seam if they wanted to go down that route. They could have brought in the extra batter in Dubey as well, but they've gone for the spinner, which to me suggests that they think even with the dew there might be an opportunity for a bit of spin in the second innings.
Did it turn much?
I thought there was enough turn, but it wasn't alarming. It wasn't a pitch where you can't hit through the line. If you get to the pitch of the ball, you can still clear the ropes. it wasn't a pitch like which we saw at Ahmedabad or at Chennai. This was slightly better than both of those games.
They have put themselves in a bit of a corner, Rajasthan, by announcing that impact sub. Because you could have sent Thikshana ahead, who can hit the odd boundary, but it's not like Kartikeya's batting profile. I wonder if they've again, we saw what they did. They sent Vanindu Hasaranga ahead of Shimron Hetmeyer. So we could do this conversation like a timeless chat, so I can plug it in future whenever it happens. So Bish, let's not speak about today and which game. Let's just keep it open so I can use this chat again and again, reproduce it. But Hasaranga walks out ahead of Hetmeyer, 19 of 16 for Shimron at the end.
When he came in the other day, I think the explanation was for him to take on spin or something in one of the previous games, which he hasn't done again. And I still think there can be better use made of Shimron Hetmeyer, even if it's more of a medium-term to long-term project of giving him that opportunity to bat a few more deliveries. But again, that's just my thought.
Anyone has any good reason? You like playing devil's advocate? Unless Puji wants to say why.
Yeah, I think RR is struggling with an all-rounder. They don't have an all-rounder, and that's the reason they are trying to save Hetmeyer for the slog overs, last 5 overs. And if they send him up and if he gets out, then they think that they'll be bundled out for, say, if they wouldn't have reached to 180 also. And I don't think that's the right strategy. But
It's a negative strategy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, they're also, it still doesn't fix anything because you're still having Hetmeyer bat in the very real possibility as we saw today with Archer, Hasarang on the other side, the impact sub in Kartikeya, Thikshana, effectively no one to go with him, which is also exposing perhaps the challenge for RR.
Yeah, I suppose the problem has probably been exacerbated in the first 3 games by the fact that top order hasn't really stuck around as they would have hoped. If you think about what the ideal template for an innings is for Rajasthan, they're probably thinking, in an ideal world, they'll probably end the innings 4 down with a set batter at one end and Hetmeyer at number 6 at the other, getting those 4 overs or so to really impact the game and build on a total that's already there. Whereas so far this season, the first game they were chasing a huge score, and then since then they've been sort of in those sort of in-between areas. They've lost wickets more regularly than they'd have liked. So it does sort of exacerbate the issues that these guys are talking about, where Hetmeyer is not really having that impact.
From their big retained players, Jurel got a score in that opening game, whether it was absolute run fest, 280 being chased. But if you break down Jaiswal, Samson, Riyan Parag and Jurel, is there anything that you're observing on what is leading to the lack of contribution at this early stage for those retained batters?
I think it's the start. If you keep on losing wickets in the power play, I think Jaiswal plays a major role in that team. I think he's one of the most talented players in that team.
Yeah.
And if he gets going, then the task for the batters who are coming in at number 3 and 4 becomes easier. So I feel that there's a lot of responsibility on him. And if he can get going, then things will be easier for Riyan Parag and Jurel.
Just very quickly, let's talk about Noor Ahmed. Amongst all the signings that can be analysed at the early stage, the jury will be out on whether Ashwin at 9+ crore was something, but Noor they paid 10 for. Looks like he's value. It looks like a Noor Ahmed who's hitting a nice sweet spot in the IPL, Bish.
100%. He was good in the SA20, I think earlier this year. He wasn't as good in 50-over cricket, surprisingly, but he's quick through the air. He hits that length sort of in the Rashid Khan mold when Rashid was at his absolute best. So he doesn't give you a lot of time to think, and that googly fizzes just enough. And I think one of the early games we saw, to his first game, he skids on to you. I assume, I don't know if you faced him, but he skids on to you a little bit quicker than you think.
Yeah, there's 8 wickets in 10 matches last year for the Titans. He's already getting close to that now.
Yeah, I think he looks like a great signing, as you say, as that attacking weapon through the middle. It's one of those funny ones, isn't it, where he's been around for a while now, but he's still incredibly young. It feels like because of the fact that he's played a few seasons of IPL, you forget that he is as young as he is. But yeah, I think...
Look at you talking about looking younger than you are.
But particularly good, I think, that he's sort of... Obviously, he had those couple of seasons at GT where Rashid was playing very much a mentoring role. I remember Hardik speaking about him when he first came and saying, I very much leave the 2 of them to it. They speak in Pashto. I let Rashid set his fields for 4-0. Whereas now he's obviously at a franchise where he's pretty much the number one attacking spinner in that team, even in a team with two
spin-heavy team.
Yeah, and with two established India internationals, and yet he's still seeming like the number one at the moment.
He's bowling 4 overs for a start, which Rashid Khan isn't, as he didn't yesterday.
I think one of the other things too about that length for me, right, is like Varun Chakravarti at Varun's best, when Sunil Narayan was at his best, the pace at which they bowl and the length, it's hard to get to them if you're trying to get forward. And if you play back, it skids on to you. And some guys, their only option is to sweep. But if they bowl straight at that pace, so I just think it's the length combined with everything else, very hard to get to when he's at
I think it's that in-between length where you can't get underneath the ball and you can't go on back foot and then pull that ball. So it's in between where as a batter, the only option is you just try and rotate, try and be smart and wait for him to make a mistake with his length.
Pathirana. Best of Pathirana? That's what you retain him for?
As good as I've seen him in the last couple of seasons, apart from the first over that went for 13. And Matt is the numbers man, but he won't be able to tell me whether Pathirana so far is the quickest in the tournament, because 147, 148, 150 clicks. The one that struck Rian Parag, it was through him quite quickly. And then when he gets his control right, with some days he'll suffer with that Yorker. Very, very difficult, but great to see him growing into what many of us hope that he can become.
Yeah, smashed Kohli in the head as well in the last game. So the short ball is beating batters, then he gets the Yorker. That is a relief, because we thought he's changed his action, he's been through injury, he's not at great form, but now it looks like Pathirana.
Yeah, he's getting his rhythm right, and with his action, it's very similar to what Malinga does. And as a batter, it's very hard to pick, no matter how often you end up facing him. But when he gets it right, it's very hard to score runs against him.
I think the cool thing with his action as well is that because it's so low, he almost gives himself that extra margin of error with the Yorker. Like the ball that got Parag, as Bish says, very quick, I think 146 Ks. You could argue it was a very low full toss because of the fact that it does hit the stump on the full. But I think because of the fact that he's so slingy, similar to Malinga, his low full toss is just as hard to hit as most people's Yorker.
I haven't played just like you, but I would like to think that's closer to a Yorker than it is a low full toss.
But just the combination of that, right? When Lassit was at his absolute best, because different batters will look to set up to play a Yorker differently, right? Some guys might just open up and look to get forward because you have to peep at it. And the danger of prodding forward and trying to peep at it is the short ball is so vicious. You end up staying back and then you're late on it in trying to pick it up. So that whole combination when he's at it, I can only imagine how challenging that would be.
You know, 6 for 53 in the last 8. The stark contrast between Nitish Rana and the rest of the top order for Rajasthan Royals. We've made this about CSK's advantage. Yet, towards the end of that innings, I think it was Graham Swan on air who's absolutely blown us away with the stat provided that CSK have never chased a score in excess of 180 in the last 6 years, I think it was, in the IPL. I was quickly trying to check that. I wouldn't doubt what Swanee's information is. But at least for the last few years, it's not happened. So 180 plus, we're saying advantage, advantage CSK. But after what happened in the last game, they chased, 150 odd in the last over against Mumbai?
I will still back CSK because on that pitch, if the openers gets going, Rahul Tripathi is due for a big one. If he gets going, if Rituraj, I think Rituraj will hold the key, and on that pitch, I think their batters will enjoy playing because it seems like it has enough pace in it, and there's a little bit of dew as well.
There's so much that's being said and written in the last 36 hours after that RCB defeat. This is a huge chase for them, even if they go down. I don't know if they'll win or lose, but the way they approach this, how close they get, where MS Dhoni bats, I mean, this is all going to be stuff that, I don't know, I'm just thinking if CSK have a lot more riding on this game, even though it's just game 3. Or is that just me and my love for drama?
Keeping the viewers engaged. That's what you're doing. You're selling the game, and that's the first thing you've thought in broadcasting. Don't try to forecast the result before the game, otherwise people go away. Good job. Sitting on the fence as well.
Why, thank you, Bish. But I am serious.
To be honest, just contextualizing everything you said there starts to get me doubting myself now as to how confident I can be in CSK feeling good about chasing this total.
it's still Tripathi and Rachin coming. And the other thing is, they've already done things that is very unlike CSK. They made 2 changes. They normally back players. And we're saying 2 games. They've won one of those games. It's not like they've had 2 bad defeats. But there is a reaction of sorts. They're dropping catches, which is again very unlike CSK. Stephen Fleming, calm man that he is losing his temper with the press. If he's watching this, and you know what I mean, Flem. Yeah, but anyway.
Jofra Archer time.
It's funny that you're right. The mood of IPL seasons can change so quickly. Where Chennai win that first game against Mumbai, and it feels like everything's fine. And suddenly, if they were to lose 2 in a row in quick succession, then suddenly the mood's completely different. Similarly, Rajasthan have lost their first 2 games. If they lose 3 in a row, then suddenly they might need 8 wins from the last 11 to get through. It's very, very tricky. But if they win, then suddenly everything's with them. So,
No.
Story CSK.
Story CSK, Matt. All right. No, I'm kidding. This is a big game for Royals. And they put themselves slightly tricky position. Could have got more, but they've ended up with just 182. Time for predictions. Forecaster is also, I think, agreeing with my trepidation around CSK. Just 53.5 to CSK. 46.5 to RR. It takes into account the lack of 180 chases, I'm sure, in the last few years. So it's a 50-50 game or a 53-46 game for forecaster. Puji.
I'm going to go with CSK. It'll be a close game, but CSK will cross the line.
Close game, maybe last over finish somewhere there. Ian Bishop.
Don't know how to follow him actually.
Defy him, Bishop. That's how you should do it.
Jofra Archer to pick up a couple of early wickets. And Rajasthan just squeeze it out.
Rajasthan to squeeze it and defend 182 to keep that streak going, right, Matt Roller?
we've had a few slightly one-sided games of late, so I feel like today is the day for a last over finish. Chennai win off the last ball.
Ooh.
Chennai win of the last ball. Let me make it even closer. Super over. Let's keep Bish here till tomorrow.
And who comes out on top?
What's that, Bish?
Who comes out on top?
In the super over.
and
Who comes out on top? There'll be 2 super overs. And in the second super over, it'll be Rajasthan Royals.
Wow.
Anyway, none of that's going to happen. It's not going to happen, so why waste time? I would want to very quickly, Jofra Archer started things off, but Dhoni, what number does he bat, regardless of situation? Surely he bats a position higher than the last game, at the very least. Puji?
I think he'll bat higher than Ashwin, so it'll be number 8. I'm guessing it also depends on the situation of the game, because he won't be walking in if they end up losing 5 wickets in first 10 overs. So he will still try and save himself for last 5. But he will be definitely batting
Ahead of Ashwin.
Yeah, agreed.
Vish?
Situational.
Okay. At the end of the game then, let's see how all of this unfolds itself. Join us for analysis. Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket for Timeout.
How do I do it all? The Brezza gives me the power.